I started off to be a surveyor. I liked to work, but in those days there was no formal course for a surveyor, but you still had to pass these formal examinations out of a book, and that didn't suit me. So after the best part of 2 years, I thought, okay, I'm just going to wander off. I went to Queensland, did a couple of odd jobs there for about a year or so, and then I saw this ad: join the Navy, join the Army, and go to Korea. And I thought, oh well, why not? So I went into the recruiting office in Brisbane and said I want to join, and I don't remember much about it. They just fill in here, how old are you? And I knew that I was supposed to have my parents' permission if I was under 21 in those days, would you believe? And they were in Sydney and I was up there, so I didn't want to do that. So I just said, I just added 2 years to my age. Nobody wanted a birth certificate. I was in. We were issued with American-made sleeping bag, parka jackets, big parka came down here and wrapped over, and I'm not sure what else, but no, that's how they. I spent a lot of my time sitting up in a hole in the ground with a half in the ground and sandbags around the top. That was the signal hoochie with, I think I had three other signallers working for me. I spent a lot of my time sitting up all night monitoring the radio and the telephones, with all of that on and in my sleeping bag in the winter. I'll tell you, what else can I tell you about it? Okay, we were up on the hill at the top of 355. It was very hard to get supplies up, so only essential supplies come out. Water supply, enough for drinking, and an army pannikin, which was enough to clean your teeth, wash yourself, and have a shave if you had a shave every now and again. And I can remember walking all the way down the hill a couple of times to the creek down there, which was breaking the ice, and having a wash, just because I felt I needed a wash. Just once, I got a jeep back to the American something or other, like the 125th, not MASH, but the Mobile Advanced Shower Unit. They had one of those. You went in one end, you checked in your hat, your rifle and your boots, threw all the rest of your clothes in the corner, went in, had this hot steaming shower, came out the other end, picked up whatever clothes you could find, and I did have a nice jacket, American jacket for there, but that went too. And then got your important things back and went back to the line, back to 355, which is where I spent most of my time. I do remember also in reserve, so one of your companies would go back every now and again in reserve, and we were in sort of a tent thing there, and we to keep warm, and that was the winter of Christmas 52. I think we were in reserve, and I don't know how many of us would be in one of these tents, but you have a drum, like a 4-gallon drum, sand in the bottom. Somebody would pull for kerosene, mobile fuel from outside. That'd be in a drum outside. You'd have it leaking onto the sand and light it, and that was how you'd keep it warm. And you'd also get some beer in your reserve, Kirin and Asahi beer from Japan. So I guess that's how I kept warm. It was pretty hard. It was pretty difficult. Well, I tell you, when I first started, and even when I was made a corporal, one of the jobs I had a lot to do is repairing telephone lines, because you had telephone lines running from our company to the outposts. You always had a couple of outposts for the company, back to battalion headquarters, across to the neighbouring companies, and out to your own platoons, because I was at company headquarters. And because of the constant mortar fire, we had constant lines going out. You spent a lot of time going along on my own, usually, or the fellas on their own, with cable, with all the stuff, repairing these lines, and usually the Chinese way over there on 317 or whatever it was would decide, oh, I can see somebody moving there, a long way away. We'll just start doing a bit of mortar fire on him. He had to keep jumping in mortar holes and shell holes in the ground to just to keep safe. But I never felt terribly threatened, even under those circumstances. I tell you what we had more problem with. In our defensive positions, which had been there for quite a while, and the trenches around, and people, and had been occupied by other forces at different times, like the Canadians and the British, the Glorious Gloucesters, I think, had our position once. Around these trenches, they would dig in boxes of grenades ready to be used if there was an attack or something. And over time, some of them got covered over, and we had a few accidents where people, when extending the trenches, and of course, Mattocks or whatever they were using in those days, uncovering and setting off grenades. So, yeah, that was a bigger danger, I think, than all the minefields. The mortars were a bit of a problem because they were coming all the time.